So I have 140 slides on purpose. I know, isn't that messed up? Okay. Hi. So I want to start by thanking the Hashes guys because it's really awesome that everyone put this together and the con group, and I absolutely love these conferences, and I really want to thank you guys for doing this stuff because you had to get up really early this morning. And I know that it's probably really boring and dull and everything else when somebody's up here ranting and talking and clicking through slides, but you know, I'm still honored to be here at the first hacker conference that I've ever been in Switzerland. Specifically here, and actually right there, I technically think I'm about here. But because of that, I'm going to really try hard not to suck. And I'll also try and behave a little bit sometimes. Anyway, so I'm Chris, this is me, and all sorts of different formats. Man, I was looking through all these DEFCON pictures, and I thought it was hilarious that I was like, don't see Nancy Reagan. But my credentials, yeah, I do security stuff. I guess that's what that proves, right? You know, like, oh, look at, that's fucking credential O-Day. Here's what people really think of me. That's fine. It doesn't really matter to me much. If you guys don't like it, you know, you can talk shit. So, because, yeah, I really don't give a fuck at all. So, now that we're good, we'll start the presentation, right? So, we need to figure out sort of where we came from, what we do, how we do it, where we go. Like, what's this whole insecurity thing? And yes, I know, I see a shitload of slides with graphs and it shows that we're screwed, right? Yeah, I get it. So, because that's where we came from, right? That's where we are sort of right now. But something really wrong along the way. Like, really super screwed up. That's why we're in an industry that completely sucks and all of us make money on people losing money. Anyone do that? Yeah, all of you. Don't talk. So we'll do like the brief history of computers, right? People know what that is? Pascaline, right? First calculator. Yeah, and then we moved to these differential engines where you start to have the first programmers. And then we moved from those to using these really cool machines that were able to make code and help in our encrypting our communications, all this other cool stuff. We started to have in the 30s the ABC computer that was the precursor to the god of computers, Enoch. Right? You guys, this is all boring history of computers, right? So then you had these mass entities of corporate wisdom and evil hell get created so that they could help take over the world. We made the transistors, which now got us away from having 18,000 tubes in a computer down to having a couple transistors. Really, really cool technology increases. And then we got to microprocessors so that we could figure out someday how to take over the world with this bitch. Right? And then we started marketing because we knew that there was a bunch of money involved in it. So we started all these really cool marketing campaigns, right? Like, your telex is sexy. And they call us nerds, right? This is like, that's ridiculous. Or, you know, look at how awesome it is to have a screen in your computer instead of a giant room of computers. Or how about a modem? They're so small and lightweight and awesome. Or maybe, you know, because you're downloading so much porn, you know, you need a bigger hard drive. And since the prices are going down, why not? Right? And then you can start chatting with people, which is really super cool, right? You can start getting this thing called electronic mail. Look at that dude's face. But that's how I felt when I experienced email for the first time. You have these computer companies that, because the bar to entry was so damn high, they had to make this little box that was easy for people to use, right? And then because it was easy, they had to make it kind of pretty, which made it kind of gay. But and overall, everything got stronger, right? So we became completely addicted to this idea of the interwebs, right? Of all these things being connected together, and we went from this ridiculous little network of all these point-to-point pieces that located everywhere else to having this ability to dial into stuff, the ability to use bandwidth, the ability to use what I call easy nets, right? Before the internet, we had EasyNet. You log into it, you could interact with all this stuff, but you didn't have to play with the complicated interwebs. This thing. So, and then we had this awesome development on the interwebs called websites, right? Remember those? Those are awesome. isn't it awesome how like ghetto some of these things look now? And at the time we were like, look at how sick that is. It took me like 10 minutes to get to Yahoo and it fucking owns. So I can search for shit. And then bam, this industry takes off. We have this Web 1.0 to Web 2.0, and Web 2.0 makes Web 1.0 look stupid, but at the end of the day, Web 2.0 is dumb because all we do is look at like stupid kitty videos, right? We start using all these different crazy social networks, and we start putting our identity out everywhere. We literally puke information everywhere to allow these big giant companies like, you know, Google and Microsoft and Yahoo to become like the psychedelic, surreal, superfied Jesus of information that indexes everything and allows you to puke all over the place and find out, it's cool, we'll clean it up. We'll give it back to you and show it to you in this really awesome way for a little price. But I digress about that. Okay, so I gotta rewind for a second. What happened while this crazy shit was going on? Well, we had this really neat human interaction with all this dope technology that we were building, right? Because we may build things, but we're building them, I mean, we always play God, right? I want to build myself, so I build this little black box that can think about things. And then I'm like, well, I can think about things really fast, so I have to make this faster because it's my bitch. And I can think way faster than it can. So enters this kind of new realm of human, right? The hacker, right? So that's the definition I use for hacker. If you don't use that definition and use something else, tough shit. This is the definition we're using. Because it's probably the right one. Yes, I'm going to be opinionated. It is. So we have the first hacker, right? One of the really, really good first hackers. Anybody know who that is? You're like, what? To check? That's awesome, right? So Ada Lovelace is the first person to ever make a computer program, right? Neat part of the history lesson. Right? Then we have people dropping bombs, right? You go through all this crazy programming, and I'm like warping through time, right? As we go from the 1800s now to the 1900s and the early parts of the 1900s, we have people dropping bombs. We have people just going after things, brute forcing it, using all this really sick technology so that we could get ahead in wars. We get into the 60s where people are literally blowing their minds out on drugs, thinking about all these different crazy programming languages that they can create using these supercomputers that are starting to be created that aren't much more powerful than our cell phones right now. But at the time, it's allowing them to expand their mind and their being all of these different magical ways until they get to real Ode. And I'm going to talk about this song because I have a problem with everybody who releases Ode. Yeah, it's because I'm not a coder and I'm not as fucking cool as you. But I also have a problem because Ode means Ode. You remember when Ode used to mean it was a game that didn't come out yet? Anyone else? BBS days? Yeah, right? Like that was Ode. Like you stole our freaking Where's term. That's bullshit. Get off. Find something else. But the first type of Ode that we see, right, is people who use trains at MIT. And they're hackers. Right? It's one of the first times the word comes up is in one of their train manuals because they hack the trains in order to get them to do cool shit, like stop at a light. Right? That's like the cool shit. That was hacking back then, right? And people realize that collaboration is really neat. You can take these one person who's going to find it to twist it this way, somebody else can twist it this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, and we end up with something totally different at the end. Right? So then you have this mass gentrification, kind of crazy, you know, it starts these cliques. So you have the academic cliques, you have the people who are against the academics because they're like, whatever, we learn faster and we can manipulate, have all these bulletin board systems and we can free phones. And you see Captain Crunch and, what was his name? Joe Ingressa get published in Esquire magazine in 1971 on phone freaking, right? Which was awesome, right? That's like the birth of, that was like our industry just came out of the closet, right? Because we were in a fashion magazine when that happened. And then the shit completely hits the fan, right? And internationally, there's all of these amazing groups that are now coming out of the closet. They've been acting dormant for a while, but now they're starting to make themselves known, right? Now you're starting to see these hacker wars of beef of who's cooler than the other person, which still goes on today. We just call them speakers. And we have all these sick groups that are coming up and making tools and working together and building shit, and they just love to share. They love to share so much that they make all these different places for us to log into and just take shit for free, which is awesome. Until you're like, oh, dude, amazing. Until you're like these dudes who gets, sued into oblivion by Playboy because they had bad porn on their site that I used to download. So then you have starting of some of the Godfather era, right? The 2600 magazines, the Frack magazines, the Hacker's Handbook. How many people have read the Hacker's Handbook? Yeah, right? Those were the days of, that's like the building of an empire. We had our own code, right? We literally had to put out our own manifesto to establish ourselves in the world as a separate part of society. That's how hardcore we were. We're not even human. We have our own manifesto. We're like the world's biggest, craziest gang. But I love it. Worded so appropriately that I would never, ever change it. And then we have training camps. You guys know what that is, right? One of the CCC camps. Training camps where we're actually actively teaching people how to do this stuff, and how to work with this stuff, and all these different things. We even have funerals for our dying technology. Right? You guys know that DEFCON started because it was a funeral?
Really?
Yeah, it was a funeral for bulletin boards. That was the whole reason to get together for the party. And now it's like this big fucking shit show. So, anyway, why is it even worth talking about this? Dude, that's awesome. I killed 100 slides. So why is it worth talking about? Right? Well, somewhere along the way, we got completely lost. Right? We did this evolution. We sat down at the computer. We started downloading porn. And then we started getting pissed because other people were looking at our porn. So we were like, yo, don't look at my porn. So we started putting up these little security controls and bugs and started bugging porn and making it oh, you had this O-Day game that everybody wants to play on their Amiga? Fuck you, I'm gonna down your shit, check this out. So we started changing file names, we started going against each other, then we started going against other people, then we're like, whatever, it's invite only, and you have to have a ratio, and you have to do this, and you have to do all these things, and the industrial boom of technology started to happen. And we were too busy fighting with each other to continue the job we were doing teaching people. So now we started to see, all right, well now that we're not teaching people, we're continually talking shit to each other, and we can't get past any of this, we need to make some damn money off of it. So we had these industries that came out, right? The computer security industry that we're all part of, it's awesome. But also we had this split where people were like, dude, I can make a bunch of money, I could get a whole bunch of chicks or dudes if that's what I'm into. I could get a fuck ton of fast cars and all this awesome shit, but all I have to do is go to the other side. Right? And it's so easy. It's so easy. So they were like, fuck collaboration. I'm the man. I'm the woman. I'm the thing that drives this. Fuck you, fuck your friends, fuck all your business, your politics, and everything else. I don't need any of that. So the landscape really started to shift. It started to shift from this fun, awesome, green world where everybody was interacting with each other and we had this real sense of community to this person's white hat, this person's black hat, this person's a speaker, this person drops soda, this guy's just an asshole because he sits on stage and talks about the history of computers. This guy, whatever, right? So we're fucked. We're so far down that road, we're totally fucked. I know, right? It's weird. I'm oh, look at all these stats of how we're fucked, but I'll get there. So what do we do, right? And I've been wrestling with this problem. I've been doing InfoSec stuff for 17 years, and this is the biggest problem we have. Right? All the other stuff's kind of bullshit in comparison to this. So I had to look at, just like you would a vulnerability assessment, where does it come from? Right? And it's not from the ports, right? Because the port wouldn't be there if the machine didn't exist. And it's not from the software, because the software wouldn't be there if the machine didn't exist. So we had to kind of look at where machines existed, and we have a really shitty history of ourselves. right? Like that's as accurate about as we can get, and it only goes to 95. So we really don't know much about any of this at all, seeing how we started the computer presentation in the 1600s. We're kind of not very good at the metrics yet. We're getting there. But what we can see is that, like you look over here and world population at 95.04%, and then we can see after that, now we're hovering somewhere around 28% of people who actually use this dope, crazy technologies that we've built. So that's a big increase in the landscape, right? Think about you going from 0.04% of the ports open to 28% of the ports open. Yeah, I know, you're like getting wet. You're like, woo, I'm staying up all night, popping this shit, right? So I wanted to look at that and kind of follow where the money came from. So if we look in the 70s, right, the first time we started to really quantify how much security costs was the Morris worm. You guys remember that? Know that? Yeah, right? So the Morris worm was said to cost $10,000 to the 6,000 plus people that it infected, which is like half of the interweb at the time, right? Like half or more of the entirety of all of our shit, all of it got infected. That's how gangster that is. But it cost them 10 grand, right? So even if we cheat the numbers because we have shitty analytics, maybe it was 50 grand that year that it came out, right? Maybe there was like some other stuff that people didn't know about because they were like, whatever, like giant Enoch machine is freaking out and blowing tubes, and somebody just wrote a process to like, change the bias of the tubes or something like that, which I totally would have loved to do because I could have made like a big ass light show in the data center, and I just would have thought it was hilarious because I like watching shit fuck up. But now we're at, oh dude, I missed the Kappa Zeros. We're at not $1 million, but $1 trillion a year. So we go from 10 grand to $1 trillion. Like, you can't say we're getting better. I don't give a shit what company you work for that sells the get better solution. You're fucking wrong. And you know it. And you're screwing people to be wrong. Boy, that's interesting. It's kind of like kicking a puppy. It's totally wrong, but it's really easy to do. It's like punching a baby. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I had this like epiphany, right? Is we were doing something right beforehand, right? Like in the early days of computing, most of the people who used computers were hackers. Would you agree with that? Because the bar to entry was so high that you had to have a level of knowledge and acumen to even turn the fucking thing on. Because it wasn't just a switch. Like, that's not how they work. You didn't turn a switch on and shit started blinking and lighted up, right? You had to turn it on in zones. You had to reset tubes. You had to, calibrate things. You had to like reprogram how electricity is flowing into the building, get the fucking thing started. And then if that happened, post was an entire other process that took you 50 flashcards and it took forever to do. And you would get it right once out of maybe 30. So you'd spend all day booting that bitch up. Sucks. But you had to be active and run the damn thing. Right? So I kind of got that feeling that everything we're doing is really wrong because we used to do this really well. Like really well, surprisingly well. And we keep trying to build guns that are bigger. Right? I'm going to take out the hacker because I've got this awesome new crazy kick-ass XYZ DLP magic packet inspecting fucking bane of wisdom, whatever the fuck it is, right? And whatever bullshit term you want to put on it, they've used every single one of them like 10 times. And it's totally a trap because we're just spending money on shit that doesn't work. So how do you fix it? Yeah? Can that actually fix it? Because firewalls and shit can't fix it. I don't know if you guys haven't figured that out yet. But like, that shit doesn't work. You have an entire conference that's going to talk about all the ways security's jacked up and doesn't work. Right? But if we had smarter users, we could probably make some progress on this shit instead of killing ourselves. So, we need to teach people about deception this way, not this way. Right? We need to think about war this way. Not like we think about war today. Right? This is how we think about war. And even then, this is like the most advanced, you know, you got your fucking TLP, IDS, SEM, blah, blah, blah. And you can walk down the list and plug all this shit in there, and then you fly an F-16 over that motherfucker, and you lost the war! Why? Because I got jets, dude. Dude, all of you guys are studying today, and you're looking at these things. I mean, you're the jet fighter pilots that fly over like ancient medieval times and just shit bombs, blow stuff up underneath you, and laugh at them at the meek, crappy technology that they have. Yeah, that's what you do. I mean, I do it too. I'm just saying. Right? But we need to educate, not adjudicate. And I don't know if that word comes across well in English. So adjudicate in English means to judge. Right? We need to teach our users, not judge them. I know, they're idiots. How can you teach them? Trust me, you can. You really, really can. I had, I don't know if you guys know, I helped start a conference called B-Sides. That just as a big fuck you to all the huge conferences, we decided to, any of the big conferences that were going on, we threw a conference the same day. Sorry, you too corporate. Why? We allow sponsors to sponsor us, but we won't let them actually like hang out or like put up shit. And they're like, what? Like, yeah. Oh, and if you're a vendor, you start talking about your vendor shit and kick you out. What? What do you mean? Yeah, it's all about that sharing of knowledge, right? And we had people that came in from bars, people that were like rappers, people like all these like random people came in, and they stayed every single day, all day long. Because it's not boring. That's why all of us are here, in order to dodge work. Right? We need to drop knowledge on these people, not just O'Day and be like, whatever, you're not smart enough to get this shit, you're owned, and I'm your master. That's my big problem with it, right? I'm the shit, I found this awesome stuff. So maybe you're not dropping O'Day on the users, but you really are. You're shitting on your grandmother when you do it, because your grandmother has Adobe installed. Yeah. You just punched your grandmother, dude. That's fucked up. Okay? That's fucked up. So, educate the companies. Don't just keep taking them to the max and telling them how stupid they are, right? And most of all, we just need to believe. Because we can fix it. Because it is something that can be fixed. Because conferences like this, conferences like other ones that we go to, the media outlets that listen to us when we lash our tongue at the giant corporations that have been stealing money from us year over year over year are giving us the opportunity to educate people, and we're just not taking it. That's it. That's all I got. I want you guys to have an awesome time learning stuff. And if I can challenge you with anything at all, I challenge you to teach people security. And if you think you're a badass, and you think that you're God's gift to coding and security and all these other technologies, prove it. Go teach somebody who doesn't give a shit about this stuff at all. And if you can do that, you're going to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So, thank you.